While Americans celebrated the 4th of July last week, did you know that Congress voted for independence from Great Britain only on the 2nd of July in 1776, not the 4th, with only two founding fathers signing on the 4th and the others as late as August? The 4th is also the busiest hot dog day in America, with over 150 million hot dogs eaten and over $1 billion spent on fireworks, with Macy's putting up one of the largest fireworks displays in the world. We stay positive, daring, different as we say welcome to Kaleidoscope today. Ahead of the show, why do we have an elephant gathering? Honing innovation and entrepreneurship and winning for creativity in the kitchen. Kaleidoscope is on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Remember to subscribe, follow, and like us for more. We also say a big thank you to our partners of the show, Silico Live, CDB, and The Daily Morning.
She wins with CDB Wings, exclusive financial solutions for women.
Here's CDB Snapshot, where we take a look back at the week that was. Sri Lanka's average inflation for 2025 is expected to be around -2%. Sri Lanka's tourism earnings rise 10% year on year to $1.71 billion in the first half of 2025. From last year's 4.5%, Sri Lanka's unemployment rate has dropped to 3.8% in the first quarter. Food costs for an average Colombo household rises by 2,461 rupees and 81 cents in June compared to last year. Sri Lanka will roll out a property tax by 2027 as part of the government's broader revenue mobilization strategy. Scarlett Johansson becomes Hollywood's highest-grossing actor ever after just 36 movies. Traffic lights in Basel, Switzerland changed to women's soccer players to celebrate the 2025 Women's Euro. Meet Serene, the first ever dog to be given a job at a Tokyo hotel as CHO, Chief Happiness Officer.
You focus on your goals. We will take care of the risks. Silico Life.
Welcome to Silico Life News Capsule. Sri Lanka ranks 95th on the Global Innovation Index in 2023, signaling room to grow. With over 750 startups and a rising digital economy, innovation is key to transformation. On Kaleidoscope, Nevindaree Premaratne, founder and CEO of Makers Global, unpacks how bold thinking, creative risk-taking, and a startup mindset can reshape Sri Lanka's future. Do Sri Lankans have an innovation mindset, or are we still trapped in that culture of risk aversion and imitation?
So I do believe that Sri Lankans do have innovation mindset. We could see that as an example during the COVID pandemic. So how people transform their lives to solve problems that we had at that time. I think the missing part is commercialization. We were not good with trading. We exchanged things with other people, but trading part was missing. So I think that is why we are lacking when it comes to entrepreneurship. But innovation mindset, that is definitely there.
Nevindaree, just think. Generally, when there's an innovation, we in Sri Lanka are more focused on having an innovation that's the local version of a global product or a brand. How do we encourage innovative, original thinking?
I don't think that any idea in this world is an original idea. So it's not a problem. So it can be a totally, copycat version of another solution out there. And also becoming a local version is not a problem at all. So we see how successfully this picnic is running right now at the moment. So that is also kind of a similar model that they are kind of, following, like Uber. It's not just about how local or how original the idea is. you have to find the right market and the time should be right. And even though the product solves the pain point of the customer, the execution part is also should be really important. So sometimes what we say is they solve the problem, but the execution is not strong enough. So that part is missing in Sri Lankan context. They don't have much of an exposure when it comes to the global context. So they don't take that seriously. And the scalable, the vision of scaling the product so fast, they don't think about that much as they don't have much of an exposure.
How do you balance having entrepreneurs and having employees in a country when we need to run an economy?
We need both parties. Definitely, we need entrepreneurs to create more jobs. We don't need people who just use hands and legs at the moment. So they need to work with their brains. So we don't see that part with the way that we inculcate the mindset through this education system. When it comes to entrepreneurship, that's not everyone's cup of tea. Everyone can't be an entrepreneur. It's a mindset that you need to have. When you see a problem, you badly want to solve a problem. We really need to change that mindset. So we need people who can make a change in the industry. Even as an employee, the mindset need to change. Because when they understand the industry, they can perform so well. It's not just about consuming technology, just learning another technology. It's about when you see some problem in the industry also, how you can solve that problem as an employee. So that is the demand that is creating right now. And you have to provide, you have to supply that through universities and schools. And entrepreneurs, definitely, they are the people who solve the problem. So to support them, we need to have these employees also with the same mindset.
And now we take a look at our markets this week. At the Colombo Stock Exchange, the old share price index continued to stay above the record 18,100 mark, even though turnover levels dropped ahead of the full moon holiday on Thursday. Slowing demand for oil from China were offset by the chances of the US imposing new sanctions on oil sales, keeping prices between 68 and 70 US dollars per barrel. Gold prices moved below 3,300 US dollars per ounce, near a one-week low as the US dollar strengthened and a US tariff of 25% was announced on imports from Japan and Korea. It's a bird's eye view. Take a look at the 2025 International Aerial Photographer of the Year contest and the stunning photos that were captured. Every year between July and October, over 300 wild elephants converge on the shores of the ancient Minneriya tank, creating one of the largest Asian elephant gatherings on Earth. It's a phenomenon shaped by centuries of seasonal rhythms and one that's now at risk. On Kaleidoscope Let's Talk, photographer, conservationist and Cinema Nature Trails Vice President Chitral Jayatilake shares powerful insights into this majestic spectacle, why it matters for Sri Lanka and the urgent need to protect it. But what is most interesting is that a Sri Lanka Wildlife Festival has been organized in the UK for the first time. Chitral, you've piqued my interest. What briefly is the Sri Lanka Wildlife Festival in the UK all about?
We initially thought we'll take this concept to London, work with the High Commission there, our Sri Lanka High Commission, and create a leopard exhibition in London for the market. But then when we had a chat with the Deputy High Commissioner, His Excellency Manoli Mallikarachi, she said Sri Lanka is not about leopards, it's about much more. Why don't we think big? So then we came up with a concept to create an event called the Sri Lanka Wildlife Festival. So everything is a go now. It starts on the 15th of July. We have 65 images where we will showcase Sri Lanka's biodiversity from Jaffna all the way to Yala and in between.
What makes the Minneriya gathering, the elephant gathering, one of the greatest wildlife spectacles in Asia?
Way back in 2001, I think, with a lot of work done by Gihan and Srilal, the Lonely Planet magazine classified this as the sixth greatest animal congregation in the world. It was a huge shot in the arm. But I believe at the time, the tourism paternity didn't grab hold of it properly. But over the years, it has been almost as predictable as the Great Migration in Africa, right? So it's an amazing event. And the beautiful thing is 90% of the tourists arriving in Sri Lanka, their first point of destination after Colombo is Havarana, Anuradhapura, Sigiri to see the cultural site. And this event is 20 minutes away.
What is the ecological significance of having so many, like hundreds of these elephants in this one particular spot in the dry zone?
It's a man-made event. I had the great pleasure of working very closely with Dr. Prithviraj Fernando and Dr. Sumit Pilapitia because we do some research based at the Lodge Havarana. And what they tell me is that these water bodies, Kaudulla, Minneriya, Somavatiya, all that was never built to serve animals. It was built by ancient wise kings to serve mankind. But today, they serve both humans and beasts alike. So it's an amazingly man-made, delicate balance between human lifestyles and facilitating animals to survive around that. So it's a beautiful balance, but that balance needs a little bit of help or intervention by us so that you continue to have that magic forever.
You mentioned colliery and you also mentioned nomadic. So, do you find the same elephants coming to the Minneriya tank or is there a change open?
85% of the elephants that are seen this year would come next year. Now, through the Cinnamon Elephant Project, which we've been doing for the last 11 years, Dr. Prutu and his team, along with our guides, they have identified more than 450 elephants by name and by pattern of their ears, their shape, their scars, and we've named them. And we see how they keep coming back because it's, this very, very intelligent animal. Their brain development is only second to humans as they're born, right? So they learn through experience. That is why it's difficult to beat them by just putting electric fence and ignoring it because they'll find a way to overcome it. So they keep coming.
Do you think there will be a possibility of replicating Minneriya in another part of the island?
Amazingly, the replication is already done by nature. When I was 17, 18, 20, 25 years, I used to travel with my father alone for photography. The gathering was in Handapanagar, not in North Central Province, right? It's the other side of the country. There are gatherings like Kalava, Parakrama Samudra. Elephants, if you give the ingredients of fresh grass, water, and some shrub forest to hide during the midday, there are many gatherings. So actually, Sri Lanka has multiple gatherings, but the branded event for tourism takes place in Minneriya Kaudulla. And if you just move 70 kilometers to the west or the east, there are even more events like that already taking place.
What do you see next for the Minneriya gathering, both good and bad?
From a tourism perspective, because that's what I like to promote and speak about, it's all about managing the experience and also managing it where you can attract the very responsible, serious wildlife tourists to come. We had about 120 jeeps going on one road towards seeing the elephants. And after watching them for half an hour, you're trafficking back on the same route to get out of the park. This is where I like to propose this in a very polite, humble way from the government, that the Department of Wildlife is doing an amazing job managing the welfare of the animals. But a component of tourism is thrusted upon them because the national parks have tourism. We need to have inside the DWC an AD in charge of wildlife tourism so that both sides are managed.
When it comes to flavor, flair, and finesse, Cinnamon Colombo Hotels just cooked up a record-breaking win. At Cafe 2025, Sri Lanka's biggest culinary showdown, Cinnamon Colombo Hotels didn't just show up. They served up an unprecedented 149 medals, dominating the competition like never before. From sizzling innovation to flawless service, Cinnamon Lakeside Colombo clinched the coveted Most Outstanding Overall Hotel Championship trophy, leading a powerful trio alongside Cinnamon Grand and Cinnamon Red Colombo. It's a celebration of passion, teamwork, and world-class excellence, all plated to perfection. Bon appetit, Cinnamon Colombo Hotels. So we will be back next week with more exciting stuff to keep you positive, daring, different.